Hello. So today we're going to a place called Calke Abbey. It's actually spelt Calke Abbey, but I'm reliably informed that it's actually pronounced Calke Abbey. So I'm going to do my best to keep calling it that today, unless I forget. So yeah, this is sort of a neoclassical Baroque style house, and it's got some decent gardens and grounds, so we're going to try and have a good look around both if possible. So yeah, we should be there shortly, hopefully. Here we are, Calke Abbey, and I believe this lodge here was built in 1805. And we're now going through an avenue of lime trees, and apparently these were planted in 1846. And then shortly we should be coming to another lodge, and I believe that was also built in 1805, and I think it was William Wilkins the Elder who was responsible for designing the two lodges. Yeah, so this is that second lodge, and this is known as Middle Lodge. Morning. You all right?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as we start going down into the parkland, you can obviously see some sheep grazing and stuff here. It's obviously got quite a bit of parkland here. Watch out for the sheep up here. Let this guy cross. That's nice, you got the sheep, and you can start to see the house and the stables, I believe, as we continue down here. Classic English scene, or English country house scene, I should say. So yeah, the house is to our right, and then I think that's the stable block in front of us. Parking to the left. When you first get here, you'll see the stable yard and riding school. Here's some of the stalls where the horses used to be kept.
There's a schoolroom, you see, that teacher.
Oh, the three lads, they were mad horses. Horses are everywhere. I love the way in which the horse gives us a lens into the concerns and the interests of Cork's many owners, but also the generations of people that have worked as part of the estate in its house.
And of course, with the children, they had an armor's mark with the ponies and the children farted. I think so.
And just in here they've got a collection of old carriages. Looks pretty comfortable. This is for carrying children, obviously.
Good morning.
Morning. This is the back of the stable block and riding school. Okay, so here we are in Derbyshire at the Grade 1 listed Calke Abbey. It was extensively remodelled in around 1702, with alterations and additions in around 1807 by William Wilkins. Then, in 1842, further work was completed by Henry Stevens. The pace of life at Cork moved very slowly. Telephones weren't installed until 1928 and electricity only came in 1962. The family here preferred to live life in a traditional fashion, shunning modern conveniences in exchange for an isolated existence. As seen here, the house lies in a dip close to the centre of the park. The house was owned by the Harper family for nearly 300 years until it was passed on to the National Trust in 1985 in lieu of death duties. By 1985, many of its rooms had been abandoned for decades and were in a state of decay. However, the National Trust decided to preserve the rooms as they were found, demonstrating how some country houses fell into decline through the 20th century. For this reason, it has the nickname the Unstately Home. And if we come around to the front here, we've got the bell pull and some nice boot scrapers. Have a look at the drain pipes here. Some interesting decoration going on. Horses, stars, deer. Alright then, let's see if we can have a little look inside. Okay, so that was the house. Now let's go and have a little look in the gardens and grounds. And I think if we head down this way, we should be able to find an old grotto, which looks quite interesting. So let's go and have a look. So you can see we're moving away from the house now. Some old gates here out into the parkland. And then if we turn around, you can see the house in the distance. And this here, in this clump of trees, this is called the grotto. So let's go and have a look. And as grottos go, I think this is a pretty good one. And that's the original gate that was to it. Here we go. It's actually dry at the moment, but I believe sometimes that does have water in it. And this is a nice little summer retreat. And this is Grade 2 listed, and it was built between 1809 and 1810 by someone called Samuel Brown. And it's red brick faced with tufa limestone. And a lot of these grottos have this tufa limestone stuff. And it actually does feel quite cool down here. And as you can see, it's still got the remains of stalactites and stalagmites that were put in here originally. So yeah, that's quite an impressive old grotto, that is. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Just down this path here, what have we got? I believe this is the old ice house. As you can see, this is sort of set into the ground, and this is Grade 2 listed. And as you can see, it's got turf across the top, which insulates it and keeps the ice cold inside. Well, when it did have ice inside. Let's have a look on top. You can see down into the ice house. Well, you can't see, but if it was light enough you would be able to. And there's two of those. And you can see how it sticks up from the ground here. Let's see if we can have a look inside. This is quite a big one by the looks of it. And this probably dates back to the late 18th century. Here we go. So we're going inside Calke's ice house. It's got at least one big chamber here. You can hear the echoes. Yeah, so there's two large chambers. And this is the end that we looked at first, from the outside. This is one of the better ice houses that we get to have a look at. So it's nice of Calke to leave that open for us. So obviously with ice houses like this, what you would do is in the winter you would cut blocks of ice from your lakes and then you'd drop them in the ice house where it would be insulated, and then throughout the hotter months of the year you could come and retrieve ice from the ice house to keep your food and drinks cool and whatever you needed. Just coming up this path here, if we go around this corner, I believe there's an old tunnel that the domestic staff or servants used to use to sort of go about the estate without being seen. So I'm going to follow through this tunnel and see where it takes us. Just watch your head if you're really tall. It is almost pitch black in here apart from the light at the end of the tunnel. Get ready for the sunlight to hit the camera. Right, so this brings us out by the kitchen gardens. And this compartment here, sort of at the top end of the kitchen gardens, this is known as the flower garden. Down the bottom there's a glass house, and I think maybe a bird house attached to it on the left hand side. And in the corner down here, this open fronted loggia type little building here, this is known as a plant theatre. And this is where people would display their plants that they were proud of. As you can see, it's like tiered shelving so that you can show off each plant. And this is actually thought to be the oldest surviving one in England. So yeah, you don't see many of these around. Right, so this half of the building down here is an aviary. And then you've got the glasshouse part here. Let's have a little look inside. You can see the pipes for the old heating system in here. So they could grow their plants all year round. And quite a few members of the family were interested in birds and stuff, so that'll explain why they had the aviary next to that glasshouse there. And then just round the corner from that little area, we've got this section here. Got some nice colours at the moment. I assume this is one of the main gardener's buildings here. Let's have a little browse inside. So yeah, lots of old gardening implements and stuff. An old fire. A little potting shed or something here. And a lot of this stuff would have been pretty much as the family left it all those years ago. So like I said, the National Trust, they've just sort of tried to preserve this place as it was, instead of restoring it and stuff. So this was an old stove in here. Interesting. The sign down there says cockle stove. the West Stovehouse. And the pony shed. Here for water. Moving further on. Alright then, so this is the walled garden, part of the kitchen gardens. And this area, basically, the kitchen gardens and the walled garden, these date back to the 1770s. We've got another little glass house there, and then I think that's the main conservatory beyond it there. So yeah, this is another small conservatory. And it looks like it might lead through to the main conservatory. So yeah, we're actually in the main conservatory now, with its large glass dome at the top. And as you can see, there's some of the more exotic specimens in here. You can see on the walls what remains of probably the original blue colour of the walls. Here's the grills to allow heat to come up from the ground, from the heating system. Here's that main conservatory that we were just inside. It's quite nice looking. And then leaving that section, we have another compartment of the kitchen gardens where they're actually growing some fruit and veg by the looks of it. Pumpkins. Got the scarecrows there. Apples. And another glass house. This is the vinery, apparently. What we got here? Tomatoes? Maybe? Not sure. Some grapes up there. Very small at the moment. Tomatoes. Alright, so let's exit the kitchen garden complex. And I believe this place, like some other country estates, it's actually got its own private church. So let's go and find that. I can see it over there, but I think I'm going to have to try a different path. So I'm going to turn around and find the proper path for it. Okay, it looks like this is the way to the church. As you can see, they've got a bit of a ha-ha, yeah, to stop the cattle and stuff from getting into the pleasure gardens from the parkland over there. So, we're coming up to the Church of St Giles. And like I said, this was a private family church for the owners of Calke Abbey. The current building here is largely the result of restoration between 1827 and 1829 by Sir George Crewe after the building had become dilapidated. The restoration of the building back then cost over £1,700 and included the cast iron Gothic Revival windows, which were fashionable at that time. The tower was also built at this time, and the entire exterior cased in stone. Let's have a little look around the outside. Some nice gates leading out into the parkland here. With the sort of Gothic design again on the gate piers. Let's have a little peek inside. You can see it's got a nice stained glass window at the end. The restoration of the church also saw new wooden furnishings crafted in the workshops at Cork, possibly from wood made from the estate. The main monument in the church is to Sir John Harper and his wife Catherine Crewe, and was erected in 1746, before the restoration of the church. There's an organ gallery up the back there. And the font down here. For the next feature in the grounds, I need to venture out a little further into the parkland. Okie dokie, you can just see the house through the trees down there, just about in the distance. And we're heading into this clump of trees over here. And the church is just over there, behind those trees. Okay, so this is Cork's deer coat. Or the remains of their deer coat, I should say. And this is grade 2 star listed, and it was probably built in the 1770s. And as you can see, the roof's gone now, and it's in ruins. It's mostly made of red brick, but with various sandstone elements, like these columns or pillars. And this obviously would have been of some use, because they do have deer on the estate. I haven't actually seen any so far, but they definitely do have them. You can see the roof beams still in place. And there's more of these columns on this side. You can see that the walls were plastered originally as well. Looks like a deer might have actually paid a visit recently. And interestingly, if you look at this wall here and the opening sort of attached to the deer coat, if we go through again, I think that wall originally might have gone all the way around, sort of in a semicircle, and some of it obviously has been destroyed or whatever. And this was what they called the deer shelter. And this is the remains of it. You can see it's got cast iron beams around the front, holding up the structure. And you can see that this part of it is still in some kind of order. And I think I read that this thing on the wall is known as a feeding rack or something for the deer. And look, you can tell by the sort of metal hooks that these feeding racks would have carried on all the way around. And like I say, this probably would have extended quite a bit further around as well. Okay, so that was the deer coat / deer shelter. And now we need to go way over the other side of the house to look at the next few bits. So I'll go and have a bit of a walk. Okay, so we're just heading out into the parkland now, over the side where they historically dug several ponds or lakes, and there's also supposed to be a really old tree over this side somewhere. So just going to have a little explore over here and see what we can find. I can actually see a pond down there at the moment, but I think we'll come back to that one. It's just down that bank down there. Okay, so this is one of the ponds here, and this one I believe is called Betty's Pond. And I think this is one of the larger ones. And this pond was actually dug in 1741. And it's actually quite hard to get a decent view of these ponds nowadays because the banks of the ponds are so overgrown. Okay, so I think I've found that old tree now. And this is called the Old Man of Cork. And this oak tree is an estimated 1,200 years old. So he certainly earns his title of the Old Man. And to put it into some context, this tree was only a sapling when the Vikings were rampaging across England. And it actually has a memorial plaque here, saying that basically it was named in 2004. Alright then, so let's crack on. Carrying on a bit further along. There's another stretch of water here. And this one is called the Mere Pond, if we can actually see it at all through the trees. And this one was probably created by around 1805. And then down here between the Mere Pool and the Thatch House Pool, looks like there's a little sort of cascade type thing, if we can get a view. So that's the Thatch House Pond, with water dropping down into the Mere Pond. And so that brings us to the end of the video, and that was Calke Abbey, and that was pretty decent. The gardens and grounds have got some bits of interest in it, and obviously the house was quite interesting with its sort of unstately home look. So yeah, I'd recommend a visit if you're in the area, and thanks a lot for watching as usual. I always appreciate it, and I shall see you next time. Thanks a lot.